biggest challenges of managing a fleet of trucks, tractor-trailers, and material handling equipment? Hassling with maintenance, repair, and vehicle breakdown. Transervice's dedicated contract maintenance service, DCM, takes that hassle away. We maintain your fleet, no matter what the configuration, to the highest standards, while giving you the greatest cost control. We offer preventative maintenance executed to maximum utilization, equipment life, and necessary repairs, all tracked by a state-of-the-art paperless computerized system. Assistance with equipment engineering, configuration, including new engine technology, and onboard computers for your fleet, as well as dedicated fleet contract maintenance. Dedicated on-site service facilities staffed with management and certified maintenance technicians, inventories of parts, tires, and fluids, and all necessary shop equipment, diagnostic tools, and technology. Supporting services such as equipment inspections and assistance with meeting regulatory requirements, DOT, OSHA, EPA. Contact us today to learn about our turnkey contract maintenance solutions. It's all about the experience, yours and ours.
Hello and welcome to Bidet and TV's coverage of the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. Today we are live from the Jewel in the Desert Phoenix International Raceway. My name is Kevin England, and let's take a moment to say hello to Paul Showtime Strickland in the production booth. And while we're at it, we can also say welcome to Mr. Tim Terry. Tim, we've put the road course, Road America, in the rear view. We're out west at the mile-long Phoenix Raceway.
Yeah, excited to see this race play out. We've been seeing Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham going back and forth on the speed chart, kind of what we saw at Road America last week when those two were going back and forth trying to swap that lead away. But we might see a familiar battle as we get ready to grid and get ready to race here for 140 laps.
We're running Phoenix. The traditional series runs Atlanta, but the drivers have agreed to swap this track out so that it can have Atlanta for the season finale, and cars are coming to the grid with the qualifying done. It's Kevin King on the pole with Daniel Falkingham, Josh Parker, Byron Daly, and Mike Kelly in the top five, and I think they're going to be elbows up here tonight, Tim. Fun racetrack. The race, you can go down on the apron. You can sweep wide in the corners. Still, you gotta mind your P's and Q's about tire wear here.
Track is plenty wide enough to make your moves and to make everything work as long as everybody kind of minds their P's and Q's and doesn't push and shove early. We've seen some of these races on this Transervice Cup Series where cautions do breed cautions. This isn't necessarily a short track, but it kind of races like it, as you see Daniel Falkingham on your screen in the 39. Had a great effort last week at Road America, looking to get back into victory lane and currently on the outside of that front row with Kevin King. But we're getting to the point now where we're getting closer to the playoffs. Some of these drivers that want to lock themselves into the playoffs and try to contend for the championship this season, they need to get to stepping. Whether you're Kevin King outside the top 20 needing to get in on points, or you're somebody that's outside looking in that needs a win.
Yeah, King currently up 3 positions to position 22, making his way up the charts. Daniel Falkingham still leading the points championship. Underneath him, it's switched around a little bit. Byron Daly's in second. Josh Parker third in the points. Pedro Mojica has dropped 1 down. Big mover last week was Adam Gilliland, coming up to 6 in the points standings, climbing the ladder. And, well, the rest of the top 10 kind of looks pretty familiar as we march through the rest of the season.
But the pace car is in, and we'll talk about that throughout the evening as we go racing. Green flag is out from Phoenix, Kevin, and we are underway. And this battle that we saw last week, the battle that we've seen all through practice, is going to happen one more time. Side by side, Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham to 2.
King has the advantage on the bottom as they go through the dog leg here. Drops down to the apron, sets up the entry for corner number 3. Can't sweep out wide. Has to stay down low. Still has Falkingham to the outside, but as he drives off of turn number 4 to the front straightaway, he's going to be able to clear him and come across. He's going to lead lap number 2.
Josh Parker now to the inside of Daniel Falkingham. He's kind of heading up and down season, kind of a little bit of a roller coaster, but Parker will take position number 2 away, and Byron Daly will now go on the assault to the inside. Great qualifying effort this evening for Jose Gonzalez as well. There's another one of those drivers that would like to have a little more insurance when it comes to the playoffs. Currently in the top 10 after qualifying 6th. Keep your eye on the Goya cam tonight, the yellow and white car, as he looks at a top 5 run here.
Buckingham up high, was able to come down low, cover that position, slip into position 4, but now all the drivers going to spread out. He's out of the throttle. We're under caution here, lap number 3.
So we'll slow it down for the first time this evening, and we'll bring in Showtime Paul Strickland Jr. to see what transpired to bring out our first caution flag of the evening here at Phoenix. And looks like it might have happened middle, back of the pack here with maybe the 9 car, Paul?
Yeah, a little bit towards the back of the pack here for the Kong Beer Bong Instant Replay, number 1 here on the night at Phoenix. And definitely looks like it was number 9 of Bobby Wetzel. Going to take a quick peek here and see exactly why it is we're under caution for the very first time. And you can see just a little bit of contact there off the front of the nose of the 15 car, but no harm, no foul. He spins around 360, gets that thing pointed in the right direction. I don't even think he got under second gear, so no damage on that 9 car. Man, look at that bright chrome paint scheme. Pretty cool to see that. So no damage. Going to have to restart towards the back of the pack in at 30th position, and might be a good opportunity for some of these guys to come down and get a little bit of service, a little bit of tweak to their car. Still early yet, but it's an opportunity to get the cars worked on.
Cars collect themselves behind the pace car here as we're under caution lap number 5. 140 laps is the distance. Good start there, Tim, by Josh Parker to jump into second position. Car looked good on the bottom from that starting position, and we'll see how he does on the outside here for the restart.
He'll have an outside starting position on that front row. He'll have that track position, but I don't know how big of a sample size those 3 laps can really be. We haven't seen a whole lot of movers. Couple of positions here, couple of positions there. I think the biggest driver that has moved has been Charles Wood. Started in 10th back to 15th. It's a loss of 5 positions. Everybody else kind of, moving up 1 or 2 spots here and there and trying to get what they can. But we'll see if these guys can get in that rhythm, get a green flag run going here, because this track is plenty wide. These guys have plenty of patience, especially early in the race, and hopefully they're able to continue this on and build on something. And Kevin King up in front, going to be tough to beat. Daniel Falkingham, actually surprised the way he fell on that outside line in those first 3 laps, but we'll see what this next run holds as the field doubles up behind the pace car.
Yeah, technical racetrack, Phoenix, you need to make sure that you hit your marks, you get the right throttle control coming up off the corner so you don't spin the tires or don't push the car too hard that it washes out for you. A lot of drivers do choose to drop down where that blue cone is and go down to the apron here. Use the apron of the racetrack, but they got to be careful coming back up. And, that is also collision corner over there, Tim. When they come up into the racetrack, sometimes other drivers are cutting down for the corner, so that's a trouble spot here. But so far, early on, we'll see what happens. I don't know. There's a love-hate relationship, Tim. Some guys really get it going here on this track, and others just not very fond of it.
It's just like any track. We saw road course last week at Road Americas when the green flag comes back out. There's some that aren't great at road courses. There are some that just aren't great at the shorter ovals or the 1 mile, mile and a half under ovals. And we see that throughout as Josh Parker clears Byron Daly. Daly going to maintain position number 3. Kevin Brown going to move into the top 5 here, it looks like, as he's on the outside of the Goya can as they go side by side. Jose Gonzalez trying to keep it away from the 93.
Still door-to-door coming off of turn number 4 to the front straightaway. Brown with the advantage going down to turn number 1. Gonzalez gives him the nod. He's going to drop into that position. and clear him coming through as everybody fans out coming through. You never know who wants that bottom lane, who wants the top lane as they come through. Right now, Kevin King under charge. They're side by side off of 4 for the lead.
Kevin King getting a challenge, and almost Josh Parker going up into that left rear quarter of the 88. Kind of had to chase it up the racetrack just a little bit to keep it off of the J Concepts, the team number 88 car. And Parker sideways opens the door for Byron Daly, and he nearly got the wall at a turn number 2. So I think if we've seen anything out of this last lap or so, some of these drivers fighting these race cars, handful of steering wheel, things are getting loose, and we saw it at Josh Parker, and ultimately it cost him from going for the lead to now having to hold on to third.
Yeah, cars swinging left, cars swinging right, but see that 39 seems to be rock solid down there in the 4th position. The car is straight as an arrow just as soon as I say that. A little bit of wiggle, but looked really good out of turn number 4, and if these guys up front continue to slice the dice, I would expect Daniel Falkingham to be taking care of his tires. He's noticed he keeps that car a little bit down to the left compared to everybody else. I think he's looking to get some air on that left front and see if he can get the car straightened out and get as much grip as he can down there on that yellow line.
Great run by Byron Daly there, Kevin, in the middle of the 1 and 2. The 33 got right back up to the back bumper of that 88, and I think Byron Daly might have something here for Kevin King, but we also said that out of Daniel Falkingham. We also said that out of Josh Parker, and it seems like every time somebody gets to the 88, I don't know if it's the dirty air, but they just can't seem to make that move. Kevin King leading this field around one more time, and it looks like for the most part back here, you see that static shot there and that one right there, that they are all single file right now. Most of these drivers kind of finding a place to race and picking up positions as they can, as you see the battle for position number 2 or 3, check that on your screen as they close into King and Daly for the lead.
This is that point of the race where you figure out what your car has. You mentally say to yourself, don't abuse the tires, settle in, try to get the run, just like Falkingham right now. And when you get the run, take it, but otherwise, don't abuse the car. There's a penchant for long runs here, Tim, and these drivers are aware of that. They don't want to burn up their stuff early on.
No, absolutely not. But we also saw a very early caution, and usually that'll dictate a rhythm. Do you go a little bit harder in the short run, anticipating a caution, or do we see that long green flag run play out? And right now, don't really want to say anything. We're getting closer to 10 laps into the run, and these drivers seem to have found a groove right now as Jose Gonzalez drops to the inside, drops to the apron, and tries to go on Kevin Brown for that spot, but won't be able to get there at least at this juncture. The 5 of Trey Edson right behind him too.
Edson follows in the fire track. The tire tracks of the 26, just kind of pacing himself there. Everybody looking around for the opportunity here. It's an interesting choice whether you choose to drop down to the apron or not. A lot of drivers don't like the unsettled part of the car, but they do know it's faster. As we're under caution, Mike Montesi in the 45 finding some problems.
Oh, tough break for the Mike Montesi, number 45, the kick-ass beef jerky ride. He's had some good speed this season, had a couple of good races, but Paul, it looks like this one not starting out the way he wanted to. A little bit of contact with that inside wall. What happened on this replay?
Kong Beer Bong instant replay number 2 at Phoenix International Speedway here, and we're going to focus in on that number 45 kick-ass beef jerky ride of Mike Montesi, and you can see back towards the back of the pack, a little bit of a wiggle in front of him from the 47, checks up just a bit and clips the outside wall, hits it again big time that time. Bobby Wetzel gets a little piece of the action right there, scuffing up some of that chrome on the outside of that race car, and you can see some front-end damage on the 45 car. Struggles to get that thing into reverse, but finally grabs that gear and gets that thing rolling once again. Going to come down pit road and see if he can bang out the virtual sheet metal in the front of that 45 kick-ass beef jerky Chevrolet and get back out on track. Didn't lose a lap there. You can see he's driving around the pace car. Going to have to restart, though, back in that 30th position. And I can see, looking at timing and scoring, seems like we've got about a half a dozen drivers down there on pit road. One of the front runners, Josh Parker, in that number 23 Toyota, coming down to get some service on his race car.
Right side tires on for the 23. They come around and put left side tires on. Josh Parker sitting out around the curve. This racetrack, an interesting pit road. He's down and away, full of fuel, 4 fresh tires. It's tricky, Tim, when you're coming down there. You have to go around the curve and turn left into your pit stall there. But Josh Parker, he's done enough pit stops to know how to figure out this racetrack.
Yeah, they've got 5 tire sets in this race, Kevin. So one would assume that with 3 more in the pits, just over 100 laps to go, he's got plenty of tires. They probably have 1 extra tire set sort of built into this deal if they do get a couple of cautions. So maybe Josh is anticipating something to play out strategy-wise to maybe leapfrog a guy like Kevin King and Byron Daly at the front of this field. But interested, kind of intrigued on the call. We'll see where it all lands, this number 23 team.
It's one of those gambles that some of these drivers play. They know that, 35 laps should be about the time when you should be exchanging if you're doing it even Steven, but some of them think that there's going to be long green flag runs, and if so, you don't get to take advantage of the fresh Goodyear tires. So from that perspective, if you duck in, you go in early, you get your fresh tires, you run through the field. Sitting back there in position number 22, maybe that's the advantage Josh Parker is trying to play as we're getting ready for the restart.
Pace car is in, and Kevin King will be back on the hammer this time. He leaves the field in his dust. Green flag flies. The 39 of Daniel Falkingham goes to the inside as they battle it out for position number 2. The 93 of Brown to the outside now has company, and Jose Gun. He can't seem to shake that number 26.
Byron Daly got a good run out of turn number 2, but he's still side by side with Falkingham. He's got a nose out front. Falkingham staying tight to that line as Kevin King leans him off of turn number 4. Good advantage for Byron Daly. Will he be able to clear Falkingham going into turn number 1? He's not going to be able to. Falkingham draws up to the door of the 33. Byron Daly gets a good run, though, off the corner and is going to clear him. Give Byron Daly the second position.
And now the battle rages on in behind as the 39 of Daniel Falkingham tries to take it away from Kevin Brown. Kevin Brown, great effort early, but going to lose 1 spot here at least. A little sideways at a 4. Here comes Jose Gonzalez, and here comes the 5 of Trey Edson. And out to the outside, rolling the top, the 22 of Nelson Rivera, having a great run here early, qualified in the top 10, currently in 8th.
Yeah, sitting outside Pedro Mojica. Mojica has just kind of fell flat the last couple of weeks, but sitting here running in that top 10 with a pretty competitive car. Right behind them, here comes Chad Coleman underneath the 22. As some of these drivers are being able to make that bottom line work, while others seem to have a better advantage on the outside.
Yeah, the outside, it seems like it's been able to work for a couple of laps, and especially with this battle with Kevin Brown and Jose Gonzalez, Kevin's able to keep there, but we saw him get loose to the outside of Daniel Falkingham and kind of lost all that momentum and all that time and that ground, and now he's losing a little bit. There's that wiggle one more time from the 93. Maybe got a little too close to that 26, maybe disrupted the air just a little bit. The 5 goes to the inside. Trey Edson going to try to pick up one more position. That'll be the battle for position number 5, and Pedro Mojica is right here as well, looking to pick up one more.
How do fresh tires do? Well, pretty good apparently. The 23 of Josh Parker has come from the 20s. He's currently in the 11th position, hunting the back bumper of Chad Coleman and the 22 of Nelson Rivera. Those two were side by side, but now that they single out, there goes the 23 down underneath. He's going to get them both. Going into turn number 1, 23 looks like he has about 100 extra horsepower with those fresh tires.
Yeah, Parker making his way through and now up onto this battle that is for position number 5. And to see how easy he can come through this battle. The positions get a little bit harder to make as they come through the field. And now he's going to look to the inside. Maybe able to get Pedro here. I think Pedro sees him in the rear view and kind of lets him go. The 93 of Kevin Brown going to be next up on the list. Kind of makes it look easy. Hot knife through butter to the inside. He didn't give him a whole lot of room, though, and keeps him on the racetrack, and Josh Parker will move into position number 6.
If you want to talk about the play, a lot of drivers are taking note of this track position play by the 23. He's come from deep within the field into what is going to be a top 5 run in just a moment. Given the speed he has, he's working currently right now on the back bumper of the 5 of Edson, clearly faster as he drops down underneath and looks to go side by side. Coming into turn 3, he's going to clear him, put him in the 5th position, and I'm sure every one of those drivers is chatting on the radio with their spotters, telling them, look at the way the 23 performed with fresh tires compared to everybody else.
Yeah, and Josh is trying something here, and I think it's going to kind of alert the rest of the field as to what to do when it comes to this strategy. And with extra tire sets or an extra tire set sitting down there, maybe compared to what you would do on a fuel run, Kevin, I think it might open some eyes just a little bit. And, maybe Josh is having a little bit of fun because he's almost back to where he was prior to the caution and the pit stop that he came down and got those tires on. He was running up in the top 3. He just passed Jose Gonzalez, and now you look up from the Interstate Batteries Bud Light number 23 and see the 39 to Daniel Falkingham, and Falkingham is going to try to hold off Josh Parker for position number 3, but it may be easier said than done here.
Looking a little deeper in the back, Joey Jatena on the move. The number 14 just moved past the 10 of Richard Beasley. Now he's working underneath the 37 of Elliot Henderson. They're racing for that 15th position. Jatena down underneath trying to make the pass, but he's not going to be able to get the opportunity as yellow's on the speedway.
So for the third time this evening, the yellow flag is out. And now this is kind of where this strategy comes in with Parker. Does Parker come down with the rest of the field? Does the field come down? We'll answer that question in just a bit as the Kong Beer Bong instant replay set to come up with Showtime Paul Strickland Jr. And Paul, single car incident here?
Single car incident for the number 90 of Ron Hollifield. Loses the back end of the race car just briefly, but gathers it back up. Looks like a little quick on the yellow flag button up in the flag stand. You can see coming out of turn number 4. Loses the race car just a bit. Big sideways. Gathers that thing back up. Doesn't hit anybody else. And it does stop in the racing groove. So good call throwing the caution flag out. Doesn't lose a lap. Doesn't hit anything. So good heads up driving for the number 90 of Ron Hollifield. And do want to take just a quick opportunity here. You see the hashtag up at the top of your screen. Hashtag racing for GNG. That's Grand National Greg. Greg Peters, a good friend of Verdane Racing and the NEPS, New England, Pennsylvania iRacing group, struggling with some health issues, and the sim racing community unfortunately has had a great deal of experience with cancer. Cancer sucks, and we've seen that throughout the season here, and the SIM500 family as well. But Greg Peters, an awesome guy, great friend here of Verdane TV, the very first guy to actually buy one of the Verdane TV hats and flaunt that out at the racetrack. But just wanted to say, we're thinking of you, Greg. We know you're out there watching. You watch every single one of our broadcasts here at Verdane TV. We're thinking of you, buddy, and we're all with you. Cancer sucks, and you're not doing it alone. So thinking of you, and we hope for the best. Prayers and thoughts and prayers.
My real job, I work for Bristol Myers Squibb, and we manufacture a lot of cancer medicines, and we go to work every day with that mission to try and solve problems for folks who have cancer, all different kinds, and live that mission as hard as you can. And every time we go to work, we say, who are we working for? And Tim, it's an unfortunate part of life, but we do say our prayers and wish the best to anybody who deals with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, Greg, a part of our family as much as any other sim racer and person is with Verdane, and I know he's got a real impact on the whole racing community. So thoughts there with the Peters family as we continue to try to put on a show and get some entertainment, as Paul would say, out to the masses. And right now they're seeing a pretty good race right now with the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. As Josh Parker leads. We saw that round of pit stops, and I think this is where we're going to see the matchup, because Kevin King, Daniel Falkingham, Byron Daly, 4, 5, 6 right now. Joey Gattina and Mike Kelly stay out in the racetrack. Josh Parker stays out in the racetrack. We know Parker's tires are good. We know he had some good speed, but now we'll see where he maybe equalizes compared to the rest.
I think what we're going to see is what we've seen in some previous events where those guys are going to do the same thing Josh Parker did. Just hopefully they can get through the field cleanly. And some of those drivers that change tires want to beat the other drivers to the front. So this should get rather exciting.
Yeah, absolutely it should. And we'll see if anybody else can challenge here. We're not even to the halfway point in this race yet, so there's still plenty of time to have this one play out as Josh Parker is taking the high side for this restart with Kevin King right behind him.
Pace car about to turn left, turn the field over to your leader, Josh Parker. Mike Kelly on the charge here on the inside. Mike's always had a fast car at this racetrack, but no competition right now for Parker, who got the jump on him. Into turn number 1, underneath the cones, down to the yellow line goes Parker. The 2 settles in right behind him. Kevin King slots into third. Here comes Byron Daly to the inside of the 88. A little bit sideways, so is able to collect the car. King got a surge, didn't get connected by that. That was pretty close, but now they're single file off of turn 4.
And now he goes after Mike Kelly in the 2 car. And Mike Kelly, no slouch tonight. He's been having some great runs here the last couple of weeks. Has had some speed. Top 5 effort in qualifying. Currently running in position number 2 through all of the pit strategy and what have you. And now Byron Daly goes to the extreme inside. Kind of flash that nose of the Valvoline number 33 to the inside of the 88 of Kevin King. But nothing doing there. They're going to get by the 2 of Mike Kelly first. And get up a little bit closer to the 23 of Josh Parker, who will lead lap 35.
Give a call to Jeff Hollingsworth, running currently in that 12th position in the number 97, having a good run here, sitting right outside the top 10, moving his way forward. Right in front of him, Nelson Rivera has been right at that top 10 mark, Tim, all night long. And the Verizon car looks pretty stout, has not slipped a wheel, just has not been able to come forward. It looks like track position is everything here tonight.
And Kevin King is going to try to go to the inside. We might have our first green flag pass for the lead, per se, as Parker, again, sideways on that outside line. That little bit of a twitch. And here comes Byron Daly, way down to the inside, trying to undercut the racetrack and get to the inside of Kevin King. Kevin King drives it in. Kevin King will clear him. Daniel Falkingham right in behind. We got a battle on our hands up in front.
Yeah, King goes out front. Byron Daly comes up. The 23 of Parker slips, and the 39 of Falkingham going to slide underneath, take over that third position. Josh Parker looks like he's trying to make that outside lane work. It's not doing real well for him at the moment. Trey Etzett is the one testing him, is out front. Look up there. There's Byron Daly peeking underneath Kevin King. He's to the numbers, trying to get the run over here in turn 4. King is pretty stubborn about it, though. He's going to lead him off to the straightaway.
Just can't get down there. Kevin King has enough to clear him off the corner, but not enough to really make that move to the inside to really have a solid run to take away that advantage. And Byron now, I don't want to say content to ride behind. He's tried a couple of those big moves, but now that they passed Josh Parker and now it's kind of mano on mano in between those two, they got Daniel Falkingham in behind. And if somebody makes a slip of those top 2, that Falkingham is going to be there. But I think Byron Daly is probably happy with his position right now, knowing that he's got 100 laps to go next time by.
Yeah, what is the story with Josh Parker? He's been under assault, car after car, lap after lap, up slid underneath him. Kevin Brown slides underneath it, takes that position. He's going to drop Josh Parker to 7th. He's going to have a little reprieve as Coleman and Rivera are side by side behind him, not contesting him, but they came off the corner. Boy, they are really close. The 22 gets a good run to the high side. Going to see if he can continue that momentum down here in turns 1 and 2 as the 38 drives in deep. Still side by side for that contest for 8th and 9th.
And Josh Parker just quick enough to stay ahead of this battle. Not enough to be a pick per se, but I think this is where the tires are really starting to show their age on the 23 of Parker. And we talk about age being 12 laps or so, but that's about where it was. And Parker is sitting in position number 8, but may lose it here. Chad Coleman trying to get by as Kevin Brown drives away from this battle. They start to line up in behind the number 23 of Josh Parker. So now it's a matter of if Chad Coleman can kind of pop the cork here and get by, and if he does, there's a bunch of cars in behind, about 8 or 9 strong, looking to make that move.
Things seem to have settled down right now, looking back over the second half of the pack. Looking at Mike Kelly, currently running in the 16th position. He was up front in the beginning and just lost a little track position. The car tail happy right now. I don't know if he's due for a set of tires or just kind of pacing himself back there as the 37 of Elliot Henderson contests. That Camaro moves down underneath. They're side by side right out in front of him. There's a battle for the 12th position. Joy Woods looking underneath the 12 of Scott Simley. Simley going to be able to get the momentum to the high side and go in and cover that position. There's a little contest all the way through the whole racetrack here, Tim.
Yeah, it's just a matter of where you look. There's some great battles here throughout. You saw Joy Woods on your screen in the 07 part-time schedule this season in the Transervice Cup Series, running in 13th place. Middle of the pack, kind of where he qualified and trying to move up, but he's got Richard Beasley in behind. Richard Beasley, tough break last week at Road America. I believe they broke a drive shaft, I think, sometime in the first couple laps of that race. Transmission didn't seem to work after that one, so they called it quits. And as the 12 car has a moment up the hill, Scott Simley will go to the outside. Joy Woods goes to the inside. Simley had one of those little wiggles there, Kevin, that we've seen characteristically at a lot of these race cars, just not hitting that line and getting that car stepped out. But now not only do they have a battle between themselves, they're trying to get by Josh Parker.
Yeah, it's so easy to come out of turn number 1, push, and then all of a sudden the car hooks and gets loose on you and you get that big wiggle. Sometimes you could use that to turn down, and other times, well, you just got to ease out of the gas and let the car get back to the grip of the racetrack. And right now, it looks like some of these drivers with some worn tires, they're fighting that push loose condition going down here into the turn number 1.
The 12 continues to go there as we're seeing some great battles throughout this pack. The 12 and the 07 doing their dance. The 47 is closed in on this battle. Elliot Henderson's closed in on this battle. Josh Parker lets one by, or Jeff Hollingsworth gets by, and now Parker has he's under fire from them behind. Up in front, you're really not missing much. Kevin King, Byron Daly, Daniel Falkingham still kind of doing their thing. The best battles are in the middle of this pack right here, where we're seeing Richard Beasley and Glazer go at it.
Yeah, just watch the 07 of Joy Woods. He was 80 degrees sideways, it looked like, coming off turn number 4 just a moment ago, able to catch it up before he slapped that tail against the fence. But yeah, these drivers, they're up on the wheel right now. Some of them with some old tires, just trying to do whatever they can to hold on until it's time to go in and get some 4 fresh Goodyears.
As we continue to work around here, 49 laps will be hung on the board this time. Kevin King continues to lead. Byron Daly 2 lengths in behind. And pretty much status quo throughout about your top 5 as we were before. Pedro Mojica, great run up to 6th place after starting in 11th. A couple of drivers that have been on the move. I think the biggest mover, we saw the 47 earlier, Bentley Glazer kind of moving in past Richard Beasley and past Joy Woods. He's going to pass one more here, I believe, up the road in Josh Parker, who continues to fall back. But Bentley started in 26th, has worked his way up to 13th, and he may get one more here before this exchange is all done. Up 13 positions, might be one more here. I think he's probably your biggest mover of the race so far.
Yeah, I was watching Bentley. He was just being methodical in practice, watching his lap times, watching the way the car drove. The car was straight. Just looked like he was hitting his marks really well and smooth and consistent, and it's showing here in the actual event. He's in that nice little pocket you get sometimes where there's no pressure from out back. You can space the distance to the car in front of you and look for the opportunities and just having a good solid run.
And that's what it's all about right now, especially in this stage of the race. We're not to that halfway point yet. We've just passed the the 50-lap mark in this race as Doy Woods and Randy Yoakum go at it. Randy Yoakum, another driver that's been on the move, he's going to pass for 16th place, move him up from 29th up to that 16th place position. So he is up 13 positions as well, kind of chasing that 47 a little ways up the road ahead of him as the 43 of Doug Roth tries to make a move in behind Doy Woods, falling backwards here on this run. But you look at the way this race is played out, a couple of quick cautions at the start, and now and I don't want to jinx it, we're starting to see some green flag racing as the 47 of Glazer goes to the inside of the 23 of Josh Parker. Parker continues his descent back through the field. Now, the problem is, we talked about that pit stop strategy, Kevin, and the way it was kind of playing out. Josh Parker now, if the caution comes out, everybody probably comes down pit road to get service. He's got one less set of tires down there on pit road, or he's got the same amount of tires because he never pitted on that last caution. But the track position wise, he's probably going to be in 13th when everybody comes down onto pit road or outside the top 10 somewhere.
Yeah, you never know how the strategies are going to play out. You got to make your bed and lay at it, and that's what he's doing right now. And sometimes you get the right call, and other times it turns around to bite you. It's still somewhere in the top 15, not that bad if he could kind of hang on. And sooner or later, either everybody's going to go to pit road under green, or we'll have a caution and it'll even things up, and he could try it again.
And we'll see that throughout the evening. There's still plenty of laps to see some strategy kind of shake out when it comes to this Phoenix Raceway as we continue to work under the green flag. And everybody, I think, is just kind of riding right now. There really hasn't been a whole lot of pushing and shoving for positions, except for this little fracas back here that we've kind of been following with Doug Roth and Tyler Dalton and Richard Beasley and some of these drivers that might not necessarily got a great qualifying effort. We mentioned earlier might not be taken to the track as well as they wanted to, and there goes Doy Woods around on the front straightaway, and that will draw the caution.
Yeah, big hit for Doy Woods, and now he comes to a rest over there and going to grab a gear and go through. Another car involved as Doy pulls off, and it just turned due left and hit that inside wall with a pretty big impact.
Yeah, going to pull up the Kong Beer Bong instant replay once again here. Relatively clean race throughout the evening here. This is probably one of the biggest hits we've seen all night long, and it's unfortunate. Loses the car by himself, it looks like, in the 07 ride. We'll take a peek at it from the Goodyear blimp, as it were. You can see already losing the back of the race car, comes out of the corner and just hard left-hand turn into that safer barrier, and then a big hit there from the 96 car who comes in. That's going to be Gerald Livingston towards the back of the pack. Kind of T-bones him, but it sets Doy Woods straight in the 07 car and gets him rolling in the right direction. A lot of damage on that car. Doy made his way up to about middle of the pack, but unfortunately going to have to restart towards the back here after this restart.
As you would expect, wholesale pit lane action. Kevin King leads the parade out of turn number 4 as some of the drivers who are close. There was some conversation in the pit meetings for these drivers. Stay left so the drivers can see, especially on this tight, tricky pit road. You can see your pit box pulling in. If everybody moves to the left, it kind of masks everything as King drops into his box. Everybody, 4 tires and fuel. I can't imagine, Tim, that anybody try to take 2 tires here in the mid part of the race.
Especially after what we saw into the 23 car on that last run or that last exchange per se. Byron Daly comes out, and I'm not sure if he was winning the race off of pit road. He actually might have got that race off pit road. Byron Daly going to get the advantage. Coming back to the racetrack is Kevin King going to lose the lead on pit road. Everybody's on the same strategy. I think Josh Parker is going to be a man on a mission on this restart as he tries to carve his way back up through the field and make up for that lost time and get himself on the same strategy. It was a great idea, Kevin, to try to get maybe off sequence and maybe try to leapfrog some of those guys. It just didn't play out the way I think Josh Parker wanted it to.
Yeah, now that everything's reset, if he's got his tires, he's even Steven with everybody, and depending on where he was and where he is now, it might be just rotation in the race. I want to talk about Byron Daly. 12 top 10s, 5 top 5s on the season, 1 win. Sitting second in the points, 107 markers behind Daniel Falkingham. He's just been Mr. Consistency. That 33 has put up good numbers each and every week. He's been hitting his stride as the season goes along. Those top fives, top tens are clicking off. And right now, he's at a contest to win this thing. He's had a stout car all night long here at Phoenix.
Yeah, you look at the top three, they've kind of been the class of the field so far. And then you include Josh Parker in there in the 23, who's had a lot of speed. I think if you're going to pick a winner, at least at this point in the race, lap 60, a few laps shy, that halfway point, 10 laps shy of the cross flags. I think the top three are probably your best bet, plus the 23. You can see the 23 in your shot here, and he's going to have to make some moves here to try to get himself a little bit closer towards the front of the running order. But we'll see what happens here, see how this all shakes out. Parker actually 14, so he lost a little bit of ground on pit road.
A lot of drivers would probably welcome this, a collective sigh as they put on some fresh tires, get to take a little bit of a break, reset their focus, and look at the way the complexion of the race is run and who's in front of them, and try and figure out what's next for them as Byron Daly down on the apron, scrubbing those tires, getting ready for the restart. Pace car is going to turn left. It's Daly, King, Falkingham, Gonzalez, and Edson, your top five for the restart. Mojica, Hollingsworth, Rivera, Coleman, and Simley round out your top 10 as pace car is off, and it's going to turn it over. Let's see how Byron Daly does on this restart. Can he maintain? Green flag, and he gets a good jump going into turn number one.
And Kevin King didn't get the greatest of starts. He's got Jose Gonzalez in the 39 and Daniel Falkingham on his back bumper, trying to hold them off. He gets a great run through the dogleg and down into turn three. Jose Gonzalez on that outside. It's a fine line out there of making it work and trying to get that car to not step out on you when you get back onto the throttle in the 39. Almost gets in to the side of that 26 as they continue to go side by side.
Yeah, Falkingham trying to do his best to clear Gonzalez and maintain that third position. Gonzalez making a pest of himself right to the back bumper of the number 88 of King, as Gonzalez doing really well out there on the high line against one of the best. Falkingham right down, painting that white line as they come off the corner. Gonzalez a little quicker that time, carrying the momentum, charges hard into turn number one, slips up a little bit. I think that's going to hurt him some as he's going to drop down. Here comes Edson to see if he can cover the spot, but I think Gonzalez is going to be able to get in there.
Yeah, Gonzalez still out there on the outside line, though. He's fighting with that number 5 of Trey Edson. Almost a little bit of contact there in the middle of 3 and 4. Trey trying to get that onside gas service number 5 ahead of the 26. Gonzalez gets a great run down the straightaway. Going to get a great run, maybe overdrove it just a little bit. Trey Edson up the hill and into the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. And Gonzalez going to go to the inside. And oh boy, they saved it. I don't know how they did it, but that was almost big.
Yeah, for Gonzalez, he was just trying to hold the 5 down so the 5 could not get the momentum up off the corner. The 5 pushed up, tapped in the 26, and I just don't know how he didn't go sideways and go down and contact that inside wall. He's going to pay the price, but at least the front end ain't mangled by smashing the wall. Gonzalez drops back to the 11th position. Well, he's just going to pick up what he's going to do as he's challenging the 37 of Elliott Henderson and picking up that spot.
And the 37 trying to stay on the right rear quarter of the 26. Richard Beasley back here as well. And Josh Parker from that restart. We mentioned he started back in about 16th place. He is up into the top 10. Ferguson's position number 9 and working his way up to Chad Coleman in front of him. And Jeff Hollingsworth, there's another driver that we haven't talked a whole lot about this evening, kind of hung around the outside of the top 10. Now in position number 7. Nelson Rivera in position number 6. So as we reach the halfway point in just a couple laps time, this race kind of changing a little bit of complexity as to where some of these drivers are running, albeit we just had Jose Gonzalez drive through the infield in the back straightaway and lose a bunch of positions. But some drivers starting to rise a little bit closer to the top as we work closer to the second half of this race.
Yeah, for the 97 and the 22, we've been watching them all through the early stages of this race. They were sitting outside the top 10. Now they find themselves right almost to the top 5. Both of those drivers advancing as the race continues on, looking a little bit deeper, looking at Jeff Ryan, currently running in the 18th position. He and Charles Wood testing back there, and this is what we say about this sometimes, Tim, is you race as hard or harder out in the back of the pack, and see these drivers just trying to get whatever track position they can. They could care less what's going on out front. It's about the car in front of them, one step at a time, to march forward.
Absolutely. You want to think of the big picture, but you don't want to think too far ahead of that big picture. As the battle between Doug Roth and Mike Kelly are side by side. Mike Kelly trying to pick up one more position on that inside line and put his way a little bit closer towards the front. We mentioned the great qualifying effort from him, but was on that same strategy as Josh Parker was when it came to tires, and I think it put him a little bit deeper behind the 8 ball than it did Josh Parker. Parker's been able to work back up firmly into the top 10, and now Mike Kelly just barely into the top 15 as he tries to solidify 14th place.
One car big sideways going over there on the 97 of Hollingsworth. He's able to gain it up, but he was way down off the apron of the racetrack, sideways off of turn number 1, and now he's under assault. He's going back to where the 26 was after that same maneuver just, 6-7 laps ago for the Goya Can.
26 trying to not have a repeat, albeit he's on the outside line trying to make up those positions, but Jose Gonzalez trying to keep a top 10 position. Jeff Hollingsworth trying to take it away on that inside, and Elliot Henderson kind of hoping he gets a opportunity to get by these two. Richard Beasley not too far behind either, as Hollingsworth up the hill. Enough momentum killed for Elliot Henderson to go to the inside and at least battle for that position. Little sideways as Elliot Henderson in behind these two, and Richard Beasley going to try to lick the bones and go to the inside of the 37.
Yeah, Speedy Gonzalez, he was able to lock in that position, slots into position number 10. The 97 of Hollingsworth had to collect his thoughts. He gets in to the 11th position. Now he's got to work his way back into the top 10, right behind him. Henderson holding a low line, covering Richard Beasley, with Mike Kelly looking underneath. To your point, sometimes you see drivers, let's talk about, say, Gary Ballou, the guy I've known to watch back in the 70s and 80s, ran NASCAR, got into some trouble, but one of the hardest charging drivers you've ever seen come through the field with a car that had the power. And Josh Parker had that kind of plan, but not Mike Kelly. I'm not sure why Mike, who's typically known to be gloves up, not able to charge through tonight. Just totally different ways these drivers are attacking this racetrack.
And with the runs that we have had, we haven't had a run to a green flag pit stop yet this evening. So these drivers have had to try to, maybe change and adapt on the fly. We've seen some different pit strategies. These cars have handled maybe a little bit differently than what these drivers may have anticipated. So it's been a very intriguing first run of this race, or first half of this race, as we're in the second half. 75 laps completed of this 140 lap distance, and we're seeing some drivers that are starting to work their way to the front that I don't want to say we didn't necessarily think were going to be there, but maybe at this stage of the race, this early in the race, we didn't think they were going to be there. When the chips fall, they're usually down there. Guys like Chad Coleman having a great run up into the top 10. Nelson Rivera right in front of him up in the top 10. They got Josh Parker right in behind them after having the up and down night that he's had pit strategy wise, as we ride on board with the tap out tuning number 38 car of Chad Coleman through 3 and 4. There's been some drivers that have been coming and going throughout the evening, and it's far from over. We'll see where they all shake out.
A couple of drivers that we know are quite fast on a lot of these racetracks. They're smooth journeyman type drivers. Not showing anything here tonight. I'm looking at the 44 of Ben Campbell, that Transervice car, just deep in the back, 24th right now. Don't think he's had any troubles or difficulties, just not coming forward. That's kind of a surprise for me. I've been watching Glenn over the last number of races, Tim, both in this particular Cup Series and in some of the other divisions here at SIM500. And, I've noticed him more and more going to the front. But here tonight at Phoenix, been kind of quiet, just riding along back there.
maybe waiting for something to happen, maybe waiting for those drivers in front of him to kind of wear it out just a little bit, but doing what he can with the car that he has back there in the back half of the field. We saw Josh Parker just make a move a couple of laps ago and Chad Coleman to move Coleman back to position number 8, and now looks up at Nelson Rivera at position number 6. Great run into the corner and almost into the wall if he didn't pancake the wall on the right-hand side. Parker trying to get everything that he can and trying to put a little pressure on the number 22 Verizon car of Nelson Rivera as they roll through corners number 3 and 4. Rivera a little sideways, catches it, loses momentum. Parker works to the inside. Beautiful little move. They'll go side by side for the spot as they complete lap number 80. And Parker will look to the inside here and try to clear him with 60 to go.
He's going to get that position, slides up to the outside wall, able to use all the racetrack over there in the kink, and Parker going to drive away, get a car length cushion between himself and Nelson Rivera. And we got to go back out front. Tim, we have seen Kevin King been on kill in the last number of races trying to work his way up to that 20th point position. And it translates to a number of laps led. Just has been killing everybody in that stat between he and Daniel Falkingham. But how about Byron Daly, man? He put a little air between himself and the others on that restart. He has not yielded it. Byron Daly holding pretty wheel here as he's carrying almost a second lead in the number 33.
Yeah, Byron doing a pretty good job up in front and being able to maintain, at least at this point. Kevin King kind of riding in position number 2, and I think he's kind of managing the gap. You see the gap up to the 33 of Byron Daly, then you kind of see it back to Daniel Falkingham. So these three, I think, kind of managing their race well at this point. They know that there's going to be another pit stop. They know there's probably going to be another caution, at least at some point in this race. So kind of manage what you can right now. Pedro Mojica in the 58 is right there on the back porch of the 39 of Falkingham, about 3 lengths or so in between those two. And then about a second back to Trey Edson, and he's being caught by Josh Parker. So for the most part, I think these guys up in front kind of have this race managed. They're minding the gaps a little bit and trying to figure out where they have to be for this run to the finish, which is coming up soon because these laps continue to click off.
Yeah, it's about 28 seconds, 29 seconds to click a lap around here. If you look to the last car on the lead lap, 19 seconds back, so in about 10 seconds or so, it is plausible that the 33 will start to get into lap traffic. As I look at someone like Kevin King and even going back to Daniel Falkingham, yes, there's a pretty large gap, but it might be that they're looking for clean air. They want air on the nose. They're going to drop back a little bit. They also might be easing on the gas coming in and out of the corners to save a little bit of fuel. If we get a long green flag run, they've got to have gas conservation in play. So are they holding them or are they charging? It's hard to say at this point of the race when you get these long green flag runs. Drivers have different agendas.
Absolutely they do, as we have a battle for position number 5. It's Josh Parker going to go to the inside of Trey Edson, and that was set up by Trey getting a little bit sideways off of corner number 4. The thing just going away a little bit on him, and Parker getting the momentum. We almost kind of saw that pass with the other cars that Josh has been battling with, getting up there and waiting for that mistake, and that's exactly what we saw out of Trey Edson, and we don't usually see that out of the driver of the number 5. So Parker moves up to 5th. He's got about a second up the road or so to catch Pedro Mojica. He's a faster driver, it looks like, these last few laps, but hasn't really he's been clicking them off as he can. And speaking about being faster than, Kevin King last couple of laps has chipped that lead down to about half of where it was about 10 laps ago. It's now under a half second.
Yeah, King does look like he's closing in a little bit. And I was watching the 5 of Trey Edson. You drive this racetrack one of two ways. You either drive it deep into the corner, arc the car, and try to ease it out to the fence for the corner, or you drive it easy in and then from the center you drive it hard off. One of them wears the right front tire, one of them wears the right rear tire, and it looks like Trey Edson car, boy, that car really steps out, especially over here in turn number 4. Looking to our left as he comes off, it looks like the car is unsettled coming off, and It almost tells you the type of driving style they have, but I agree with you. As we watch that gap, something we could see over here from the broadcast booth, the 88 is closing in on your leader, the number 33 of Byron Daly.
In the last 3 laps or so, Byron and Kevin have kind of been even on laps. They've been kind of going back and forth lap time wise. Byron Daly last time at a 60 compared to Kevin King at a 65. A couple of laps ago, Kevin King was a couple of hundreds faster. So it's kind of going back and forth. When you add those up over time, usually those hundreds will count if they continue to go one way or the other. But still, it's a great battle up in front, a little game of cat and mouse. And the 88 seems to be a little bit better, I think, than Byron. If there's any point in this racetrack, Kevin, it's probably off of turn 4. Kevin seems to be able to put the power down a little bit better than Byron Daly, but that lap by Byron Daly a little bit faster than Kevin King, a 63 to a 59.
I think if there's one chink in the armor for the 39 of Daniel Falkingham, it's long green flag runs. For whatever reason, it just does not seem to suit his hard-charging style. On the contrary, 2 other drivers sitting in the top 10, this is their kind of race. Pedro Mojica and Jose Gonzalez, both of them extremely strong on the long run, and I would anticipate Pedro starting to make a little noise and closing in on the 39 of Daniel Falkingham. I think we're going to have a race for third here in just a few laps.
Yeah, he's been slowly chipping away at that gap, and I don't know if it's because he's kind of looked in the rearview mirror and saw that Interstate Batteries number 23 at Parker get a little bit closer or not, but I think that's kind of where that might be starting to show, and he's trying to get up on the wheel and make something happen. But the last couple laps, Falkingham was kind of turned the wick up, and even that last lap, 0.3 of a second almost, Falkingham was quicker than Pedro Mojica. So Daniel might have stepped it up just a wee bit. He might be listening to the broadcast. He might have a screw chief listening, trying to maybe put the fire underneath him.
That happens sometimes, as they do pick in on us and take our insights, but don't give ourselves any credit. The 6 of Timothy Bates got passed by, as we talked about lapped cars playing the field. The 88 of King went by. Byron Daly went through cleanly. It did not look to impact. In fact, it almost feels like Daly made it better, as he's 0.7 of a second up on Kevin King.
Yeah, continues to pick him up and lay him down as this run goes on. It looks like Byron just a wee bit quicker, at least in this stage of the run, than Kevin King. Last lap by a 66 compared to an 80. So there's a 10.5 that Byron Daly put on Kevin King on that last lap. In the contrary, that battle that was getting close for position number 3, Falkingham last time at a 66 compared to a 78. So actually Falkingham and Byron Daly about the same lap time. So maybe Daniel, maybe he saved something in the middle stages of this run, and as I say that, a little bit slower than Byron that time, lap time wise. So we'll see what all shakes out here. But the battle, I think, within the top 10 is going to be the battle for position number 4, because Pedro Mojica is there on Josh Parker.
There's a dynamic as a driver. It's almost like a psychological thing that you think to yourself, well, I'm going to pit. You know what? I don't need these tires anymore. I'm going to run them. I'm going to run them as hard as I can. Someone like Daniel Falkingham would be thinking to himself, I can abuse the tires now. I'm about to get a fresh set. Let me get the hammer down. It does look like he has picked up the pace. And as I look out front, boy, I tell you, Byron Daly, he's got this track wired. He's on lock. He just continues to put down good lap times out front. Now he's got one car sitting in front of him. It's a 9 of Bobby Wetzel that he's going to have to contend with in a couple laps. The question is, when do they come to pit road, Tim?
Yeah, we're running a little bit lower on laps. So where do you come down and where do you get your service? How much fuel do you put in the race car as Byron Daly continues to lead this thing? Josh Parker and Pedro Mojica nearly had a moment one lap ago as Josh Parker has been able to roll center a little bit better than Pedro and just got up and almost got into the back bumper to upset that number 58, and now he looks to the outside. Nothing doing there as Parker tries to find a way around. That is the battle for position number 4, and we continue to look at that battle, the 23, trying to set him up on the outside, just can't seem to get their center off.
Now he's going to turn the nose down underneath as they come through the kink here, heading into turn number 3. The 23 sweeps wide. He's going to turn down in turn number 4, right to the yellow line, cut it low, but so did Mojica, so he's going to follow in the tire tracks. No opportunity there as they clear lap 101. Once you get that triple-digit number, Tim, a lot of drivers can do the math, and they think to themselves, well, 40 laps to go, we can make it on fuel, and I'm going to split the distance for tires. Depending on where the caution fell, when do you go? And the question is, if you go, as the 23 slips underneath the 58, the 58 going to pit road. That's why. Now, one driver has called the call, Tim, and I think it's going to be a good call for the 58.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad call. It was almost catastrophe. I know he put the hand out the window, virtual hand out the window, to let Josh know he was coming down, but Josh didn't give him a whole lot of room and went to the inside there. So I'm sure that was orchestrated. They're still in the same Discord channel as Daniel Falkingham now comes on to pit road, so the cork may be popped on this round of green flag pit stops, but that was almost too close for comfort. Mike Kelly among those coming on to pit road now.
Well, we wondered when, and typically you get to that triple-digit number, and that does something to the psyche of these drivers as Daniel Falkingham comes around the curve, drops into pit box number 2. Right side tire is going to go on. I have to expect that everybody's going to take 4 in fuel. Those who wait a little longer going to run lap times that are slower, but they're going to have to take on less fuel. So there has to be some sort of balance in the mindset of these drivers. Finished service for Daniel Falkingham. He's down and away.
Yeah, there's a fine line. There's a balance that you have to handle as Byron Daly comes onto pit road from the lead. He will surrender the top spot to Kevin King. King will stay out on the racetrack on this exchange. So Byron Daly undercutting Kevin by at least a lap. Josh Parker still out on the racetrack. Trey Edson still on the racetrack. Chad Coleman. And it looks like potentially Jose Gonzalez is going to be your top 5 as Falkingham nearly has a moment with the lapped car on the back straightaway. But able to get there is Kevin King. Is he coming on to pit road this time? No, he's staying out on the racetrack, so he will lead one more lap, and this will be 2 more laps than he's done compared to Byron Daly, who led this exchange on the pit road.
Yeah, we've seen Kevin be confident in his long run ability and being able to maintain a lot of speed in the car and then trade off for a good pit stop and a short fuel fill. I have to wonder if anybody would contemplate taking 2 tires for track position.
At this stage in the race, I don't know if you can or not. With being 33 laps to go, it might be a gamble if you're way at the back of the field and trying to leapfrog somebody. But we'll see see if anybody does decide to take any gamble. I would, maybe you can't do a whole lot of exchanging on the setup. Maybe you do take less fuel than your other competitors do. But Kevin King is staying out on the racetrack 1 more lap, so he'll lead 107 on the racetrack.
28.755 Kevin King time last time by. If you're looking at Daniel Falkingham, a 27.356. So certainly fresh tires mean a significant amount. And the good news for someone like Falkingham who's pitted, he's got open racetrack. He can use that speed to the best of his ability and click off some really fast laps.
Yeah, doing a great job up in front as he always does. I know he loves Phoenix, one of his favorite racetracks here on the iRacing platform. And there's Josh Parker in position number 2. Trey Edson currently scored in 3rd. Jose Gonzalez and Kevin Brown. Haven't spoken a whole lot about Kevin Brown in the second half of this race after running up front early. But with this cycle currently sitting in position number 5 is... looking at the undercut, Daniel Falkingham is ahead of Byron Daly on the racetrack, but that is starting to accordion in behind your leader, Kevin King, as they are currently on the 1 lap down train, and Kevin King up the hill allows Daniel Falkingham side to 1
Falkingham beat Daly out of the pits the way things work. Daly going to streak to the outside and go past, put himself back into the lead lap. Another concern for these drivers. So these two are able to clear Kevin King. Kevin King has to have seen now how fast these two are. The question is, when he gets over to turn 4, is he going to yank it left?
We'll have to see what he ends up doing as Byron Daly trying to get by the 40 car ahead of him. We watch Kevin King to see if he comes down onto pit road. He will not. Byron having an issue with the 40 car, Charles Woods. Woods finally decides to roll over here, and Byron trying to move on, but he'll eventually do so. But he lost a lot of time there to Falkingham.
So we just continue to watch how this race plays out strategically and see what's going to happen with Kevin King and when he'll come to pit road. Not going to do it this time, and I think Kevin's going to stay in it for quite a while.
I think at this point, especially if you see Josh Parker behind you and Trey Edson, who do have some quick race cars underneath them, albeit there's a little bit of time in between them. But if you're Kevin King, I think your hand's kind of forced at this point. You got to stay out and stay at least as far as you can, as long as you can on these tires and on the fuel, and let everything else happen around you as Kevin King will bypass pit road one more time. But the two drivers that he has to be concerned about are Daniel Falkingham and Byron Daly, who are currently, it's easier said than done. They're about 4 seconds ahead of the leader, about 24 seconds behind if you're looking at that. But Kevin right now doing a great job doing what he's done the last little bit of this season, running up front, leading laps, and trying to take away some wins to get himself a little bit closer to the top 20-point picture. And he'll come by this time and stay on the racetrack. 1:14 complete.
10 laps circling the racetrack out front. Got a comfortable lead right now. King charges out of turn number 1. Turn 2 to the quote-unquote backstretch. He brushed the wall that time up off the corner. Didn't seem to slow him down too much, but the question is, will these tires hold up? And is he going to continue to roll around here? It's got to be about fuel mileage, and at this point, I think, Tim, he's looking to have a short fuel stop. I don't know, when you take 4 tires, how does that work? Do you find the advantage where you can put in less fuel and spend less time on pit road? That tempting?
It might be a little more tempting than taking 2 tires per se and taking a little less fuel, but we'll see how this all plays out for Kevin King. He stays in the racetrack this time and completes 1:16 on the racetrack. That's Ron Holyfield behind him. And you see the battle on your screen. That is the 2 of Mike Kelly and the 23 of Josh Parker. And I believe that's not for position. Mike Kelly is currently 1 lap down. Josh Parker currently on the racetrack and on the lead lap. If we do see a battle, it would be between him and Trey Edson, but Trey Edson is about a 2 3/4 back as Kevin King continues to stay out on the racetrack this time. 1:17 complete.
Holyfield, he was able to go by with fresh tires, didn't hold up King too much, and I'm sure that's another factor that King is considering, how much he has to stay out of the way for drivers that have fresh tires. So far, he's not really been challenged that much, which allows him to focus on hitting his marks, getting the best lap times. And, one of the things that we know is, well, he's got tires. So if there is a caution, he's going to have fresh tires and be able to charge through. I still think because of how much green flag racing we had, so does everybody else. So I don't know. I'm just, like any other time, Tim, these drivers, they have an idea of how to play this, and we're just going to have to see where this lands.
Chad Coleman looking to the inside of Kevin King. That is to unlap himself to put him in 16th place. And the drivers to watch are Byron Daly, Daniel Falkingham, and they continue to make up time. Last time by for Byron Daly was a 28.05 to Kevin King's 28.96. So making up about a second as Josh Parker comes down to pit road to get service on his race car. The lap times with 21 laps to go, if they were to equalize a little bit, obviously I think Kevin's got to come down and get fuel at some point. The lap times aren't that really far off, Kevin. At least the last couple of laps that Byron Daly has thrown down compared to Kevin King, that would lead me to believe that Kevin King if he were to stay out on the tires, if the fuel were able to survive, we'd have ourselves a pretty good finish, I think.
Yeah, have we not contemplated the fact that Kevin could just stay out and lead these last 20 laps and still end up, because the other drivers have to run all the way around the racetrack? That's an interesting idea.
I think the other thing the elephant in the room, and I'm sure our producer Paul is thinking the same thing. It's hard to track Kevin King when Kevin King's not on the racetrack half the time. He's having some issues staying connected, or at least his hardware or internet or what have you, staying connected to the race server itself. And looking at it, it's a ping issue, so it'd have to be an internet issue of some point with his connection connecting to the race server. But keep your half eye on that too, because that could go the opposite way or go sideways in a hurry. But still leads by about 6 seconds over Trey Edson, Jose Gonzalez, Kevin Brown, and Scott Simley. Your top 5.
We have settled the question about Byron Daly versus Daniel Falkingham. Well, Falkingham had the advantage for pitting. Byron Daly drove around him and is driving away. Currently sitting in the 8th position, 28.10 is the lap time to Falkingham's 28.27. So we even see the 33 driving away with faster lap times. That 33 has been the class of the field here tonight. Just wonder whether or not strategy is going to play into his hand, as he's still charging pretty hard here as he goes down underneath the 19 of Tyler Dalton to make that pass.
Yeah, there's been some good cars here tonight. Byron Daly has been strong in the middle stages to the second half of this race prior to pit stops. Kevin King was really good at the very start of this race. The 23 of Josh Parker has shown some speed. Daniel Falkingham has shown some speed. So there's been some really good race cars throughout the evening. I wouldn't say one car has necessarily dominated over the other. We've seen some flashes of brilliance in between those four that I just mentioned, but Byron Daly is the one that's on the move right now. He moves past Laser to position number 6 and moves past Simley for position number 5 and looks ahead of him, and he's got about 2 seconds or so to catch Kevin Brown. We've got 15 laps to go. He's about a second or just under a second faster than Kevin King. If Kevin is able to stretch the fuel and be able to make it, that's one thing. Keeping Byron Daly behind him, I think, is going to be something completely different.
Yeah, Trey Edson looks like he's in that position to stretch the fuel and possibly get himself out of trouble here, as Kevin DeBrown is having a good race here. Just have to wonder how this strategy plays out for all these drivers. Is it looks like conveyor belt right now. Everybody's spread out. There's tons of space. There's not a big chance that we're looking at green flag positions, even though we have some faster cars. Almost everybody that wanted to go to pit road, Tim, has done so. Drivers got what they're going to get when they're going to run these final laps.
Yeah, and looking at this strategy, the way it is playing out, we're seeing some very interesting developments as Byron Daly and Kevin Brown going to have the battle for position number 4, and Byron going to go to the inside and try to make light work of this number 93. I mean, I'm intrigued, though. Kevin Brown ran up front earlier, had his little misfortune about midway through the race, and trying to get what he can right now. I think even if he gets a top 10 run, I think that'll be great for the 93, considering where he was running prior to this round of green flag pit stops. Trey Edson, great top 5 car. Was he going to win the race maybe under the right circumstance? Currently runs second. Byron Daly's probably going to get to him before this race is all said and done, but great effort as well. Jose Gonzalez, we saw him a little bit earlier on the screen. He's the next one for Byron Daly to try to reel in and catch, currently in position number 3. And he's had some up and down races. He's had some good luck. He's had some bad luck. The finishes recently, Kevin, not what he wanted, but if he can get a top 5 run of this, I believe he'll probably be happy.
Yeah, and that could very well be the play for the 26 and 5 of Edson. As I've been watching Daniel Falkingham, he just slipped underneath the Simley car to take over that 6th position, and he's got his sights set on Kevin Brown. Brown only a couple car lengths in front of him, and Falkingham putting down quicker lap times by a considerable margin up in front of them. Byron Daly is looking at Joey Jatina, who is running in that 23rd position. I would assume Joey knows the 33 is coming, is not going to create a problem for him. Daly clicking off some big laps, but he's got quite a distance to go to see if he can get to King, if King's going to run this thing out.
Yeah, the lap traffic for Byron Daly hasn't necessarily been the friend, at least recently, and that's all traffic. That's the lead lap cars he's trying to pass, and some of the lap down cars as Kevin King gets into the back of Glenn Campbell off of turn number 4 and tries to go to the inside, and maybe a little impatience per se, as he also knows that he has to manage that gap back to Byron Daly as Kevin King will pass, and Hollingsworth right in behind him, and in behind that is the 37 of Elliott Henderson.
Change for position back there in that 5th position. The Kevin Brown number 93 dropped back to 6. It's Daniel Falkingham covering that position. He's driving away from Kevin Brown, so give Falkingham a top 5 here. In the late going is, I just don't know if Byron Daly's going to be fast enough.
If you would have told me that 15 laps ago, I would have said you're probably crazy. Kevin is probably going to, Byron's probably going to get there passing. Kevin King might be completely different unless Kevin, for some reason, runs out of fuel or maybe short at the fuel cell on the last stop. But he's got 7 laps, I believe, this time by to make it happen. 6 laps to go this time by, and he's got about 10 seconds to make up. So the numbers right now, Kevin, unless we get a caution, do not line up in Byron Daly's favor.
Yeah, the problem for the 88 is just these lap cars catching him and making it trouble for him to hit his marks and come through right now. He seems to be on pace with the cars in front of him. A little bit of a wiggle out of turn number 4. That's going to allow the cars in front of him to slip away. And here comes Nelson Rivera to the back bumper, closing in over there in turn number 1. If Nelson takes away the line, that erases time. But thus far, I think with 5 to go, unless something tragic happens, Kevin King looks like he's going to steal this one on pit strategy.
Unless that internet connection drops or does something weird, I think this is Kevin King's race to lose, at least at this point with 4 laps to go. And Byron Daly, I believe, is going to get to Jose Gonzalez before this thing is over and maybe get himself back on the podium, but that might be all it is for Byron Daly. He was able that last time by to chip in about 0.4 of a second to Jose, so I think he's going to be there. It's only going to be for 3rd, but I think he's going to get one more spot of this before this one's all said and done.
And looking at the big picture for King, 22nd in points, this certainly is going to be an outstanding point night if he's able to seal the deal, and he becomes the 2nd driver to win 3 races to Daniel Falkingham's 4. Adam Gilliland not here tonight, currently in the 6th position, and it's going to be Kevin King going to triple digit for the win here. He is right in and amongst a bunch of cars, though. He's got to be very careful looking out the front and the back. The 22 has caught him.
Yeah, you got to tiptoe here through these last 2 laps of competition to make sure that you stay off the rest of the competitors mind their P's and Q's ahead, and you do everything that you can as Rivera goes to the outside. And he's out of fuel. The 29 of Kevin King is slow to the inside. Oh, that's huge for the 29 of Kevin King. Now Trey Edson in behind. Is he out of fuel? Is it still under power? He might have just let him by. I think Paul might have had something come up there. He was freaking out as much as we were. White flag for Kevin King.
Yeah, he got tucked pretty well there in that instance, but able to carry the fuel, and he comes around one more time. He's about a half mile to the finish here. Kevin King, well, he did it on fuel strategy, and all he has to do, he can probably coast by now as he comes out of turn number 4 for the final time. It is win number 3, sealing the deal. It's Kevin King with the wing here in the desert.
The battle for 3rd coming down to the end, going to go to Byron Daly, makes that last lap pass on Jose Gonzalez to take away 3rd. Trey Edson comes home in 2nd. Jose Gonzalez, Daniel Falkingham, top 5. Kevin Brown, Pedro Mojica, Scott Simley, Tyler Dalton from 25th to 9th, and Bentley Glazer from 26th to 10th. in this race. So congratulations to Kevin King. He is a winner one more time and gets himself just a little bit closer to that top 20 and that playoff ticket.
I think at this point, Tim, a lot of drivers are scratching their head wondering how he was able to maintain that speed and keep the distance. I think they would have envisioned that even though they went to pit road, fresh tires would have brought him back to his bumper. And for whatever reason, Kevin just played the strategy right. And, well, he's got enough fuel and tires to burn him down here on the front straightaway.
Definitely a fan of this racetrack. And usually when you go to Phoenix, Kevin King is one of those drivers that you circle on the list as the favorite, and definitely proved it here tonight. Trey Edson had a great pit strategy call as well. Don't discount what the number 5 team was able to do here this evening to come up to second place. And you look back, what might have been for, a guy like Chad Coleman and Josh Parker ran in the top 10 for most of this evening. Mike Kelly had a great qualifying effort, finished 15th. There's a lot of stories throughout this field, and a great race overall put on by the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series.
Yeah, not to be overlooked, what you said earlier is you got to give a nod to Tyler Dalton. Good race for he and Bentley Glazer to get a top 10, starting 25th and 26th, respectively, and the two of them just quietly eked their way into that top 10, and good for both of them. Good, strong finish for them here at Phoenix.
Let's see if we can't chat with Byron Daly. And Byron, I know the strategy didn't play out exactly the way you wanted to, but third place effort, you put the boots on, had a lot of work to do there at the end.
Yeah, I would have. Man, if I could have done that again, I should have just done what I thought. I just never thought that race would go green, seeing what we saw the first half of it. And so, I'll go for speed and strategy right there, and it just didn't pan out. So I only have myself to blame. That was kind of fun being up there, battling with all those guys, kind of legit. Felt like I was in contention there and just kind of threw it away. So that's just how it goes.
Coming through the field, though, it looked like for a while that you were going to be there at the end. Did the tires normalize? Was it the traffic giving you a little bit of a headache? What was it at the end that ultimately led to third place?
Honestly, Tim, I just don't think that the strategy was going to ever work unless I gave myself more laps to try to make it up. And that's just the problem. The end of the day is I didn't give myself enough laps to try to catch back up to those guys. And between the traffic and, just the tires equalizing, it's just one of those things that I just did not time it right. So just ran out of time. Got to third, which is good. I mean, almost broke even, if you consider that Kevin was already on the fuel save strategy, but just wasn't smart enough tonight.
It's a great points night to set you up towards the playoffs. Who do you got in this race car? Who do you want to thank for this effort here this evening?
Yeah, I just want to thank Dave Lanza, letting me drive for him, Valvoline. There's a whole host of people that supported Dave over his Thompson Racing and all that stuff that I'm sure have a part in this. And I just thank all those people. Thank SIM500, you guys broadcasting, just, everybody makes it happen.
That's Byron Daly coming home position number 3. Great effort for this number 33 team coming from the pit road strategy, Kevin, and just coming up just a little bit short here this evening. But I believe you've caught up with Trey Edson, finishing in second tonight. Well, I think Kevin went to the hot dog stand. Trey, second place. Not the finish that you wanted, I'm sure. Wanted to get that win, but let's talk about the pit strategy. How did you have to manage that thing to try to get second place out of this?
It was just dumb luck. A lot of my aftermath teammates worked here tonight, so I was racing with Chad and Byron and that group, at least being in their channel. And about halfway through that run, they mentioned they didn't fill the tank up. So that never crossed my mind. It's just a lack of. I get on here one night a week. Don't really ever get to log laps or practice or anything. So kind of strategy and stuff. Just I don't. Lack of knowledge, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. We're leaving fuel out and stuff helps balance. I just never crosses my mind. I just kind of drive the thing and see where we end up. But when they were talking about not being full of fuel, and I looked down and was 2 or 3 laps good that whole run. So just kind of try to keep it straight. That thing was a handful if you jumped in the gas too soon. And Kevin got really far out there, so I knew he could really slow his pace down. And hell, he probably could have fallen all the way back to me and then drove off again. So it's a good points night. I've had a terrible season. I'll either run top 10, top 5, or I'll finish 40th. So I'm just trying to climb my way back up through the points and make sure that our win at Rockingham keeps us in the playoffs, and I don't fall back into the 30th points place area where I seem to have been most of the season.
So looking forward into these next couple of races, getting ready to get into the playoffs, how do you prepare yourself in the next, I think it's 6 races, to set yourself up to run for another championship and go back to back?
I don't really know. Like I just kind of touched on it. I don't really have any time. With having a 3-year-old and a wife, that our schedules are kind of the opposite certain nights of the week. So really Mondays are the only time I can get on here, and I get maybe 20-30 minutes of practice before we go green. So a lot of this is just repetitive, man. Like there's these people are on here quite a bit. I wouldn't say unless you're in the peak series, you kind of live on here, but I think everybody else, you try to make it a hobby, but you're still on here probably more than you should be. So just lean on Adam and Fuller and them whenever we get there, and hopefully they're willing to share a little bit of knowledge and what the setups are doing, what the tires are doing. But there's some good tracks in the playoffs. It's really, I mean, last year I think the whole playoffs, my worst finish was like 3rd or 4th, which through a 10-race stretch, I mean, you can't ask for much better. So I don't. The field is super tough this year. When Adam locks in and takes it serious again, he'll be tough. Kevin's ridiculous as far as speed and just consistency. Dude is smooth. And then you got Parker and Fuller, and I mean it's just if we had strength of fields, this would probably be the strongest one in SIM500's history. So at least in the top 10 or 15. So you just kind of start the playoffs and try to stay clean and just kind of play the game around and see how far you can go.
You mentioned all the guys that weren't here this evening to help you, but who's on the race car and who helped you get to the second place effort today?
Yep, just thanks to Mike Montesi and OnSite Gas, onsitegas.com. They jumped on board for 2021. I'm sure it's not the season he envisioned, but we have got him a victory, and at least we'll get to take him to the playoffs. So with the payout structure, I think Mike took a chance that he was going to win all of his money back by jumping on board there. But we're slowly giving him his money back. I don't think he's going to make a profit like he envisioned, but yeah, thanks to him. It's weird. I feel like we just ran Daytona yesterday, but here you are talking about the playoffs. So it's weird how time flies, and we'll just keep plugging along. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to Joey and everybody at SIM500, and we'll see you when we see you, buddy.
There you go. That's Trey Edson coming home position number 2. Another great effort here in the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. Kevin England, you've caught up with Kevin King, our winner.
I have, standing here with Kevin. Kevin, 2 in a row. That's got to feel good. This summer stretch is doing pretty well for you.
Man, I've run enough laps at this track to kind of know what it does, and I was kind of curious what the aero package would do with the push and all that fun stuff, and I felt it a little bit in practice, and so I knew I wanted the lead, and then I saw Byron was really quick, and then I had a really bad pit stop, like a 14.5, and he got the lead, and I was like, man, there's no sense of trying to get it from him because he's good enough to not let me just get it. So I kind of just rode there for a while, and I felt like I was saving my tires pretty good. And then I looked down, and I knew instantly it was going to be a fuel mileage deal because I was like 0.25 or 0.18 to the good. And I was like, okay, I just kind of cruise at this speed, throttle profile and everything on the track. And eventually, I got close enough to him. We kind of just stalled out, just sitting there. And I was just kind of watching his car, and I was telling, because I streamed it, I was telling the guys in the chat, I was like, man, he looks like he's a little tight on entry, but like he has a massive amount of drive off. I'm like, maybe I just drove poorly this run. And then they all started to pit, and I was like, wait a second, did they all short fuel? And then I got to him, then he pit, and I was like, I think they short fueled, which was good for me because I had everyone telling me like I was good to go, and I was really worried about them somehow being able to make up speed. But when you looked at the differences, like in lap times, hot lap to what I was running, it was only like a second and a half. So I knew they would get a lot of it back. And then once they got to around 15 seconds or so, it really stalled out, and I just kind of just got out of everyone's way. I was so slow with the old tires. I was just kind of cruising around the same lap times for the last 50 laps, it seemed like, and was able to bring it home. So yeah, pretty happy with that, considering I thought I was on the wrong side of that strategy.
Yeah, we were trying to decide whether you did that on purpose or just kind of meandered into it. Tim and I were having the great debate, as you'll see if you watch the broadcast, about whether the strategy was going to work or not. And the further it got along, the further we came into your camp of just seeing the buffer. The bigger thing for you was to be able to run clean laps out front and not have anybody shove you out of your line going through. It looked like it was a pretty conveyor belt finish that helped you at the end. Do you think that was the case?
I saw them, they flew by me, about three of them at a time. It was Daniel and then Byron and then Pedro, and I watched them kind of just drive away from me a little bit. And I knew the biggest catalyst to creating that time differential wasn't so much tires, was how good they got through traffic and how much I didn't get through traffic, really. And so I was really looking behind me to see who was there and who I could let go, and making sure that, if I was able to take the corner, that they'd get, at least an exit, and I can just not necessarily worry about running high through the corner. So I try to minimize just running on the outside quite a bit. And then I knew once they got through traffic that would slow them down, that hopefully would equal out. And then of course the tire would equalize itself too. But yeah, man, like I said, I felt like I was driving really well. I thought I was driving really smooth, and I saw it was a fuel thing. And, it kind of made sense as to why I couldn't really catch him after a while, because he was just flying off the corners, and I was like, man, I can't go any harder. It's just going to be spinning. And so it made me feel good that they actually short fueled, and then it made me feel better than knowing that I could actually make it, and I wasn't being an idiot out here just running laps, costing myself a chance at least where I was going to finish potentially in second. So yeah, I was happy. Overall, really fun race. I love this racetrack, although I've liked different versions of it, not so much this particular one, but like I told the guys in the server, like just having that long a green flag run is something that is not very common anymore, and it's really a blast to be able to just have strategy, have just racecraft, have just the ability to just drive around and race versus just 20 laps wreck, 20 laps wreck, 20 laps wreck. That's not fun. So this itself was just so much fun, and I appreciate all the guys out there for having such a great race and allowing us to go greens for so long.
Yeah, so a great win on the season, and this flat track translates to next week where we run another flat track, New Hampshire. So if you run well here, typically that's a good transition into New Hampshire.
Yeah, New Hampshire is another one that I typically run pretty well at. I don't know why. That's not one of my favorites, but I just have an active, I don't know if it's these flat tracks. Danny Hansen tells me that I got something figured out with flat tracks, and I don't know what that is. I don't love them, but I somehow go to them, and I'm somehow, decent. So yeah, I'm looking forward to New Hampshire, just a sense that it's something a little different. It's not a mile and a half. We got low downforce, high horsepower package, which is fun. Great group of guys to race against. So I'm looking forward to it from that aspect. And yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I'm just, I'm super pumped with this. It gets me a little closer to getting in the playoffs. I'm happy with our guys in RTP. They're putting a lot of work into running well, and I know Adam wasn't here, but I spotted for him in RTP on Thursday, and he was running really, really well until he got nicked and got spun out, but he still finished 22nd, which is pretty good considering where he was. And the other guys finished like second and ninth. So we're chugging away. We're not the biggest team out there, but we have a lot of good guys that are willing to put in the effort, and that's all that matters, and have fun while doing it. So looking forward to that next week. And of course, before that, we got New Hampshire. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'll run some of that this week and see what it's like, and get a good baseline of kind of how to run, and then come back on Monday and hopefully have another good race there.
If I look at the preliminary points, would bring you up to 19th and put you in that lock that you were looking for. 3 wins on the season. Congratulations. Stay here tonight, Kevin. Who helps you get it done on the number 88?
Yeah, the team. I always want to thank Tim Terry. Got his awesome logo that he helped me. He basically told me how to design it, so appreciate that. Blake Cisneros at BC Workshop for putting a lot of work on the RTP side of things and helping us out there. Outrun Esports, Team Associated, J Concepts, Sim Magic, not necessarily a sponsor. I just enjoy the new wheel that I got and from them. So Darren Ganji, appreciate you helping me out with that. You guys for putting on this broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch it, see how it was. And just all the drivers in the series, man. Like I said, it's not easy. I've been around it for a really long time, and I was telling my chat, the guys that I raced in the series, I raced a lot of them for a very long time, like 20 years it feels like. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's probably been about 20 years that I've known some of these guys. And it's just a different breed of people. Like they're respectful. They're not trying to dick you out of a situation. Like it's just different. It's not easier. It's just a different mentality, and it's really refreshing to be able to go in here and race and have fun and not think about like some dude just sending it in from 4 cars deep or pinching you down to the apron and waiting for you to wreck. So thanks to all those guys for having such good racecraft and just being respectful to people out there. I know it gets heated, but I mean, like I've told people many times, like this is probably one of the most fun I've had in leagues in quite some time. And I don't really do leagues all that much, but this is definitely one of the most fun I've had in a very, very, very long time, and I'm happy to be part of it.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time after the win, Kevin. Go enjoy, go celebrate, and we'll see you next week in New Hampshire. Kevin King conquers the desert here at Phoenix International Speedway. And Tim, exciting race. Just the strategy, trying to figure out how it was going to land, and certainly Kevin, well, he had the right idea just looking at all the metrics and came away with the victory here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and coming away with another victory, getting him a little bit closer to that complete lock into the playoffs, and another couple of good weeks coming up, another couple of good tracks. New Hampshire, I think Iowa's on the schedule. Before we go to the playoffs, there's a lot of really good racetracks coming up here. If you're a fan of the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series, the summer stretch is going to treat us well. We're going to see some great racing as we did here this evening. But Paul, a great run at Phoenix. Congratulations to Kevin King, and we move on. But what else do we have coming up this week here on Verdane TV?
Yeah, taking a quick peek here at the schedule, and you know, I gotta say, being a sim racer myself, I started doing it back in 05 and 06 with Steve Lavender, and even before I met Steve, you know, lots of names, lots of different leagues, and being able to see myself in the Verdane TV production truck with 3 names, Kevin King, Kevin England, and Tim Terry, pretty cool. Kind of tickles the fancy just a little bit. And pretty cool to see where we've come for Verdane TV, working on year number 2, getting ready to get set up for the second big winter here with iRacing coming up. And we can see Wednesday nights, we've got the Tim's Corner Motorsports, Tim's Corner Live, and we will be live on Verdane TV. Got the truck all squared away. Got the brakes on the truck, so that's good news there. And 9:15, no fatheads this week, but they're going to be coming back here on July 28th. The very first race of the next season, going to be a Daytona Road Course. Fatheads changing their name up just a little bit. Going to be the Loose Lugs Cup Series, and same drivers, same teams, and a couple of new drivers in there as well. Multi-League Cup Series coming up here on Thursday night. They put on a phenomenal race this past Thursday, and really looking forward to having them race again here on Thursday night. Friday, finally looks like the sun might potentially be out, so we'll be at Stafford Motor Speedway helping out the Rent-A-Race Car Street Stock team and the 39 late model driven by Paul Verricchio Jr. finally back in one piece after a vicious wreck a few weeks ago. So he will be out there, and this guy will be out on pit road, pitting that number 39 late model, hopefully to a good finish. And Tim, we got Tim's Corner Live coming up Wednesday night. What are we looking at for a lineup?
Still trying to finalize the lineup. We actually had 2 big shows on Tim's Corner TV this week with Speedway Miramichi, and our debut at Scotia Speed World. The East Coast International Pro Stock Tour is actually starting up this week as well. So big week for us on the East Coast of Canada. So we'll get you a lineup. It's going to be a big show, but it's been busy. We'll have some guests talking about some racing coming up on Wednesday.
Business always picks up here in the summer months, and we're really looking forward to it as well. And we've also got Neps going to be putting on something a little bit special here this week. We'll have details on the Facebook page. But thanks to everybody tuning in here for Facebook, for YouTube, and Twitch. We did the Twitch stream here again tonight. Thanks to everybody tuning in. Got to give a shout out to the Contraband RP guys jumping on in from the Grand Theft Auto world. Very cool to see a little bit of a crossover action here. And Take a quick peek at the Verdane shop, www.verdane.shop. We're adding in t-shirts designs daily. It seems like lots of cool stuff getting put in there this week. Pick up a Verdane TV hat. We got Angry Tree Guy, Rent a Race Car, 47, What an Idiot. All sorts of cool shirt designs in there. Be sure to pick yourself up one, not too expensive, and snap off a picture. Join the conversation, hashtag Verdane TV. But for everybody here for Transervice Cup Series here is SIM500 Verdane TV. My name is Showtime Paul Strickland Jr. Kevin England, Tim Terry making the calls here for the SIM500 Cup Series. We'll catch you guys on the flip side when we do. We are going to be doing it live.